Hey everybody, Mightbane here with episode 2 of the Fun Elden Ring build series. Today I have a double feature for you. I've got the Glass Cannon Radagon build on the left and then the War General Radagon build on the right. I prefer using the Glass Cannon build against bosses. It really does some awesome damage when you stack up these talismans that I'm going to show you. And then the War General build I like to use in PvP. It's not as high damaging, but as you can see it still does insane damage. I'm all about respecting your guys' time, so I'll show all the build details at the beginning, but then I'll show some fun boss footage and tips, and then new with this video, some PvP footage and tips. I would appreciate it if you do let the full video run though, even if it's just in the background. This would greatly help my channel out, and I do think you'll enjoy the boss and PvP clips I have included here today. Alright, so here's the build. This is a quality faith build. I have it set up like this because I play on Xbox and I don't want to have to respec a bunch. So if you really wanted a Glass Cannon build, I would take those Vigor points and pour them all into Faith, because that would give you the greatest damage. Alright, so let's talk about the flasks that I use. So I have the Holy Shrouding Cracked Tear to boost holy attacks, and then the Faith Knot to boost Faith. Again, you won't need that if you put your extra points in Faith. So the weapon, of course, is Marika's Hammer. This is the weapon that Radagon uses against you when you fight him. And then for my seal, I actually like to use the Godslayer seal just because that's what I've upgraded, but maybe the Erdtree seal is more appropriate if you have that upgraded. And then the only piece of equipment that you use is the Sanguine Noble Waistcloth. It looks the most like his signature clothes. Onto the talismans, these are the ones you'll use to get the max damage out of the weapon skill of the hammer. I like to use the Blue Dancer Charm because you don't have a lot of a weight load with this setup. And I wanted to call this out. I have 14 Flasks of Cerulean Tears. This is because I use the Erdtree Heal incantation to heal myself instead of the HP Flask. So yeah, with this build you're going to be using the Goldbreaker weapon art a lot. It does a lot of damage up close, but also it catches people at a far distance. But if you're using it for duels, don't spam the weapon art. It's kind of annoying when people do that. So let's talk spells. I like to use Erdtree Heal to heal myself and others. And then I like to use Golden Vow to give myself and others a damage and defense boost. Blessing of the Erdtree for HP replenishment. And then I like these two spells for additional defense. I like Elden Stars to make sure that the boss aggroes me instead of other people. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does make sure that the boss targets you. Wrath of Gold is a cool spell that you can charge up. It's the signature Wrath of the Gods spell in Souls games. And then I included some lightning spells because although Radagon does holy damage, he does have some attacks that, kind of look like lightning. So if you're using this build against the Elden Beast, it's not really practical because of the high holy resistance. So I like to switch to Malekith's Black Blade and then the Two Fingers Heirloom. What's nice is that your talismans and flasks boost this weapon skill, the Destined Death one, and it absolutely shreds any boss that has a large health pool, even the Elden Beast. So let's move on to build 2, the War General build. So in the lore that we get in Elden Ring, it says that Radagon was a general, kind of before he became the vessel for the Elden Ring. So I've kind of gathered what weapon and armor I believe that he might have used. And it's pretty fun to use in PvP. So the stats remain the same, but we're going to change to the Golden Order Greatsword. This is a sword that actually was built by Radagon. And if you have time to go into New Game Plus to get a second copy, I recommend doing that. It's kind of cool dual wielding these powerful swords. I imagine he would have worn something like the Tree Sentinel armor, and it looks really cool with the swords. Here are the talismans I've switched to. For PvP, I prefer to be kind of like a tank and not try to one-shot people. That way it makes duels a little bit more fun and makes them last longer. Another weapon that I like to use that's kind of what I feel like Radagon might have liked is the Greatsword. You can add this Ash of War called Golden Land. It kind of matches his, holy vibes. So you put it into the ground and follow up with this massive attack. It's pretty good for trading when people come at you. And it's also good for punishing mages that just spam spells. I also like to change my flasks to these 2 tiers. It really just helps with, being a tank in PvP. So those are the build details. So now moving on to the fun footage. I'll start with the Glass Cannon build tips. Using it against Malenia is extremely satisfying. You start off with 2 Gold Breakers, and then actually charge her. she'll dodge backwards, and then you do it again. After that one, you could, opt for another one as she dodges away, or I kind of like to just charge up the hammer, get a critical. It feels extremely satisfying. Then I made a mistake here. She does her waterfall around that HP, so I should have dodged away instead of continuing to spam it, but it turned out okay. So this is another mistake here by the hosts, and I've found it's actually the hardest thing in beating these bosses now is keeping the hosts alive. Here's an interruption to boss battles. Me and my friend were just running along, and then he disappeared. Yeah, thank you for that, Elden Ring. Really appreciate that. So here's a weapon I didn't show before, but it's a little trumpet, and with all of these talismans and that flask, it does an insane amount of damage. It does like 700 per hit, and you can wind it up and attack a lot, and so it's kind of fun to troll bosses with it. So this is a boss fight that I think is my favorite with this build, taking on Radagon as himself. The light rolls of this build really help in dodging attacks. I'm not too familiar with the light rolls because normally I just, stick to medium rolls, but it adds for a, nice buffer if you're ever close to getting hit. So, here we go. Dodge towards attack, and then you want to wait to see what he does. Whenever he does that attack, you can do a charge attack following up. And then again, you're just kind of watching to see, doing some jump attacks, getting a poise break is always super satisfying. So then watch closely here. Whenever he does this stomp, jump it and then run away, and then charge up your own attack. You dodge his attack and absolutely destroy him. It's so awesome. Again, charge up, hit that one. Alright, so I tried this out to see if it would work, and it hit me that you have a lot of hyper armor with this Ash of War. And so it's pretty awesome. So again, you can just use the Goldbreaker, Ash of War, to really counter a lot of attacks. It's extremely satisfying. And after I, hit him, you need to make sure you're watching your FP amount, and then dodging away. And then normally I don't jump in that, you kind of want to stay outside that ring, but it worked. So for the Elden Beast, I've already switched over to Malekith's Black Blade. Again, the hammer doesn't do a lot of damage against the beast. What I did here was cast Elden Stars because I want the Elden Beast to target me. So I turn around, jump that, and then the beast will show up around here. Cast Elden Stars because I want to keep the pressure on me, keep making sure the host stays alive. So with this attack, you run to the left, jump the tail, and then you can just attack without any worries of getting hit by that, that nuke attack. So dodge that, attack. Alright, so here's a tip for when he does Elden Stars. You want to cast the Lord's Divine Protection Incantation. It gives you a massive defense boost against holy damage, and that is the main, type of damage that Elden Stars is. So then you can really just kind of stand in the path, and it doesn't even hurt you that much. Destined Death really does awesome work against this boss. But again, you want to make sure you're dodging. Don't just spam the weapon art. Make sure you're paying attention to the boss and then only using it when there's openings. To Malekith, when he does this, you want to time your dodges just right, and then use the Blasphemous Claw item to parry him. It is one of the most satisfying parries that you can do in this game. And then you just kind of run behind him, take advantage of that opportunity to get in a nice hit. Whenever he does that, you really want to get behind him, because if you're caught in front of him, he'll destroy you with the Destined Death. And there you have Malekith. So again, you don't want to spam this in PvP unless you're dealing with another spammer. Radagon is just stronger than Placidus X. So in doing boss fights with this build, I realized something pretty cool. Whenever you're fighting these horse bosses, the weapon art actually stuns them every time you hit them. It's pretty awesome. is not just with Loretta shown here, but also with the Draconic Tree Sentinel. With these minor bosses, I really don't mind spamming them. It's honestly pretty fun to just, you know, light them up with this awesome skill. When it comes to Godfrey, you want to make sure that you're dodging his attacks. He hits like a truck. Luckily for me in this fight, you know, I had these two long-range summons, and they were doing awesome damage. That was a mistake there, I shouldn't have done that. So when he does this, I always look at the ground, because you want to make sure you're running away from where he'll do that rock slam. At the beginning of phase 2, honestly, I'm always kind of happy when the host gets hit by that. It's kind of fun to see that power bomb. I tried to get over here to heal the host, you know, do my part, keeping them alive. So what I really like about the weapon art is that you have a ton of poise. Like, you can tank through a lot of attacks. You know, when he does this, run away, then run back in. So watch this. I like to do this. Right before the slam, charge it up and attack. I could have done that better, potentially rolling through the first one and then using the weapon art on the second one. So here's our last boss battle for the day. I just wanted to include this one because these bosses are so crap, and it's just kind of fun showing them getting completely destroyed. Moving on to the PvP portion of the video, here's War General Radagon. So I mentioned before, right, like I like to dual wield the Golden Order Greatswords, but I hadn't even upgraded this. So the cool thing about this build is that you have a ton of different weapons that you can use. So there's a ton of builds that scale with strength, dex, and faith. And so you have a wide variety of options here if you want to dual wield greatswords, but then there's also some additional weapons, you know, straight swords, colossal weapons, things like that. And if you didn't know, this is where you can go to have some really good PvP duels. Here was my first summon for dueling of the day. This guy was a complete Chad. After I summoned him, I actually had to step away real quick. So you can see there was an invader that came, and this summon being super honorable, he defended me against the invader. And watch this. Luckily I was locked on, and so my camera stayed on my summon. But this is my favorite part, watch this. The guy that invaded me tries to hit me and he just blocks it with his shield. So yeah, thanks to this man for being awesome. Luckily I came back right around this time, and then we were able to take him on together. And what started off as an honorable duel turned into some fun gameplay with a random duelist. Luckily I jumped that and sealed the deal. I try not to point down because that's pretty toxic, but I couldn't resist seeing him doing it too. So then we ended up dueling each other, and I just wanted to show, you know, it is hard dealing with a shield user sometimes, but check out this Ash of War. It actually does work against him. You know, you can trade into that shield bash, and then I have something up my sleeve here that I surprise him with. Switch to it, and the skill is the Unblockable Blade, and it goes right through the shield. To be honest, I was sad, though, to see him go. Moving on to duel number 2. This guy is another cool guy that I met. And I wanted to do a quick plug for our Discord. So we have a group on Discord where, you know, we team up and fight bosses, we do PvP. And if you ever want to, you know, get footage of you beating up on a wannabe YouTuber, come and join the Discord, and hopefully we can do some duels together, and I'm sure you'll beat me. I left a link to join in the description of the video. So, you know, I'm using the hammer here, and really it's not that good at PvP. It has limited range, and you have to be really good to, you know, win with it, and I'm not that great. So, good game over here, and, you know, he gives an honorable emote to finish it off. Duel number 3, and what's really fun is with this armor you have a lot of poise, and you can tank through attacks. So 2 charges, and he's gone. In duel number 4, I saw this really strong wizard. Almost died instantly with that. Dodged that moon forwards. So whenever I'm dealing with a mage, you know, that kind of gives me leeway to start spamming, and that's what I do. You know, I always try to just do, you know, no weapon arts, not really that many spells, unless the person I'm dueling does. On to our next duel, and in this one we both had to deal with the third enemy, the lag. As you'll watch here, yeah, our connection was pretty terrible, but you know, honestly, sometimes lag makes for some kind of enjoyable fights. So you can see here he's casting stuff at me coming out of nowhere. And yep, I didn't really know what to expect here. So I thought the fight was over, but clearly not. Luckily my tear saved me there. So this next duel was a real spammer. When this happens, it's time for Elden Stars. I don't use this unless someone really deserves it. So I'll cast the Elden Stars spell, charge at him. You can see he's also a shield, and so just spamming stuff at him, it's kind of, you know, satisfying actually. So, and then, you know, going again with my unblockable blade skill. Does wonders. So final duel of the day, and I just wanted to show what this Golden Land Ash of War does. Just look at how powerful it is. You can trade into pretty much anything. Well, those are all the clips I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoy using this build. If you haven't already subscribed, I would appreciate that. And then also any likes or comments on the video would really help as well. Take it easy, guys.